the mic. It's really hard for people to hear that are watching online.
It's hard to be here, too.
What?
I said it's hard to be.
It's even harder.
Yeah. Yep,
Okay, we're ready.
okay. I hereby call this meeting to order. I would like to thank tonight's presenters and everyone joining us via Facebook Live. That's new, isn't it? Courtney, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, all our board members are in attendance. There are a couple of addenda items which are included, and that would be the HR report, public written comment, media report, and community relations update, and the PHS mascot update. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addenda.
I move we approve the agenda with the addendum.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. The work session and regular board minutes for October will be rolled into the December board meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve the executive session personnel student discipline minutes from October 2nd, 2020 as corrected. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept those personnel minutes as read. Approve the minutes.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing all in favor, that motion is passed. Next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes authorizing the payment of claims, approving the supplemental financial information, and approving the amended human resources activity. Is there a motion?
I move that we authorize the consent agenda.
So I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. Next. You have an update for us.
Just one quick update. In September, you approved, you took board action on stipends that are in regard to using our $2,100 to pay for our teacher of record. And there was a few names, and those were turned in by name. And a few of those teachers changed. And so we just wanted to let you know on the update that it will not exceed the $2,100 that you had approved. And that there was just a few teachers' names that changed. Some teachers who were unable to be the teacher of record and others who took their place. Okay? Any questions with that?
No?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next, Courtney. Is Courtney here? Provide the November recognitions.
Yeah. So Ryan's going to help us. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ryan. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, trustees, Dr. Howell, Ms. Johnson, and tonight we will recognize several individuals who, through their actions, support and embody our district's mission to think more, learn more, and be more together. We start off with our cake awards, and because of rolling back to stage 2 of Idaho's rebound plan, we do not have any guests with us this evening. So we do have some guests joining us via either Google Meet, or several of them opted just to watch the live stream of the meeting. First up is our cake awards while Ryan pulls that up for us. Our district believes, thank you, a safe, supportive, and caring and respectful environment is critical to student learning. The School District 25 Education Foundation, in partnership with McDonald's, supports the Learner of the Month award to recognize one elementary learner and one secondary learner from our district from October through May. The Cake Award celebrates positive character, attitude, kindness, and encouragement toward others. In addition to being recognized here with you this evening, the recipients also receive a sweet treat not necessarily cupcakes this year, but something cupcake related, delivered to their classrooms so that they can be enjoyed and recognized among their peers. The nominations for the Cake Awards are submitted by a teacher who has observed the learner's behavior and also are approved by the school's principal. So tonight, for our November Cake Award elementary learner, we have joining us on our live stream just watching tonight. Please help me welcome Braxton Snooks and his teacher, Mr. John Anderson. Not really sure where to wave, but hello and thank you so much for joining us tonight. If everyone wants to give him a wave. Braxton is in the 5th grade and attends Lewis and Clark Elementary School. He was nominated by Mr. John Anderson. In his nomination letter, Mr. Anderson wrote, "Braxton has struggled with his spelling, and he decided to take his learning how to spell to the next level. He has been studying his spelling list for at least an hour every night and has been getting MTs on his spelling test for the last 3 weeks. He was only getting 1 or 2 words correctly previously. That's a big achievement. His attitude of fighting for his education has been contagious because now I have several other students looking up to him and his efforts, and their attitudes towards studying has improved considerably. Braxton's attitude has spilled over into all of the content areas, and Braxton is working hard at home to practice his schoolwork. Braxton has not only shown kindness to others, but he has encouraged all of the learners in my class to spend more time studying. Braxton's I can do it attitude makes him a role model at our school." So thank you so much, Braxton, for the example that you set. In addition to being recognized here tonight, you will be rewarded with a special treat for everyone in your class sometime this week. You and your teacher will also receive a gift card from McDonald's, who sponsors this award, and your school library will also receive a $50 donation to purchase books in your name that you will be able to help pick out. Please join me in congratulating Braxton for being named our Elementary Learner of the Month for character, attitude, kindness, and encouragement. Awesome. And next up, joining us via Google Meet this evening is our secondary learner, Braxton, Anthony Fry, and his teacher, Mr. Kyler Miller. Is Mr. Miller also here? Hello to you both. Can you see us? And can you hear us? Okay. Anthony is an 8th grader at Irving Middle School. In his nomination letter, Mr. Miller wrote, "Anthony is an exceptional student. He is the ideal candidate for this recognition. Anthony is one of the best students in my class and is consistently helping his classmates with any issue that they may have on their coding assignments. He never degrades or puts another student down. His attitude is always positive, even during this stressful and abnormal hybrid schedule. Anthony has excelled and completed every assignment both in class and at home. He is the model student both academically and socially among his peers." So Anthony, you also will be recognized among your peers this week with a special treat. You and Mr. Miller will both receive a McDonald's gift card, and your school library will receive $50 awarded in your name. And so please help me congratulate Anthony for being named our Secondary Learner of the Month for character, attitude, kindness, and encouragement. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Okay, next up is our Pies Award. And Ryan, we can turn, I don't think anybody else is joining us this evening. The Employee of the Month Pies Award recognizes our employees who positively influence educational success. The award is for employees who go above and beyond in that effort. ISU Credit Union partners with us in providing this award. This month's awardee is Miss Allison Winder. She was nominated by her colleague, Miss Wendy Anderson. And I believe that they are joining us watching, so we'll wave at them and welcome them as well, watching via our Facebook live stream, which is kind of a cool thing that we do here. Mrs. Winder teaches 1st grade at Chubbuck Elementary School. In her nomination letter, Mrs. Anderson wrote, "Allison greets every child by name each day. She carefully listens to each child as they come. Within her instruction, she always works one-to-one with the strugglers for each subject. When helping a child improve their work, she is positive and kind. If a student has scored poorly, she will make sure to work with them one-on-one for improvement and to see how they are processing the information. She is never the type of teacher to dismiss the concern of a student for the convenience of staying on schedule. Each child feels they are important in her class. As a member of our 1st grade team, she is the voice of reason. She is our reality check. She keeps us grounded and focused. Her example helps to be positive with each of our learners. She has made a 3-ring binder memory book for each child for the past several years. She collects specific assignments throughout the year, and she takes their photographs several times as entries for the book. As if that wasn't enough, Mrs. Anderson also sent in an amendment shortly after she submitted her original nomination with this story. Miss Winder's class has a field trip this morning. She has one child without a permission slip. She called the parent saying, "I'm sorry to bother you this morning, but I need a permission slip signed for our field trip." The parent was unable to come right over, so Mrs. Winder said, "I can drive right over and have you sign it." She left, and school starts in 10 minutes. This is the positivity that she displays constantly. This is another example of her constant reach for the higher ground and positive actions for the benefit of a child. Mrs. Winder will be receiving a $50 gift card from our educational partner in this award, ISU Credit Union. In addition, Mrs. Anderson will receive a $20 gift card also on behalf of ISU Credit Union. Please join me in congratulating Mrs. Winder. Thank you for your contributions to our learners and to our school district. And thank you so much for the wonderfully written nomination. That concludes our recognitions for the month, and I would again like to thank each of our guests and awardees for joining us remotely this evening. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is time for public and written comment on items not on the agenda. Written comment was received and was included in the packet. I have also received requests for public comment. Let's see. I would also remind the speakers to review the expectations of decorum, which are listed in the back of the public comment forms. All comments are expected to be civil and respectful. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. We will begin with Billy Johnson. What's that? What'd you say?
You said you had a written
They said it's in our packet somewhere.
Okay.
Not to read, it says it's in our packet. Uh-huh.
Good evening. I am dressed up today as my former alter ego, the Cow Crusader for Kindness. For 3 years, I was the ambassador for the district's Cake Award, given to 2 students each month, celebrating character, attitude, and kindness. Character, attitude, kindness, and encouragement. Now, the kindness of all kindnesses would be if you all could make everyone happy. If you could say yes to everyone, but you can't. So who do you listen to? I've come up with 6 categories of who I think an elected school board should listen to. Number 1, the parents. You should listen to parents about what they want, what they feel their kids need, and I have seen you do that. You've got to listen to Dr. Howell and his staff of professionals in this office, people with years of experience in higher ed, with degrees like educational leadership, curriculum development, and I've seen you listen to them. You've got to listen to your administrators. Our high school principals, Mrs. Brockett, Mrs. Delanis, Mr. Wallace, Ms. Prescott, I trust them. I grew up 2 doors down from Mr. Wallace. I only know him as a little guy. So I asked Mrs. Delanis one time, "How is Brad? What's he like?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, that guy reads all the time. He is up on educational best practices and wants to talk about it." You got to listen to that guy who reads. You got to listen to his colleague who respects that. And I've seen you do that. You've got to listen to individual teachers and their union representative. I looked at last year's comprehensive financial audit report, and I learned we have 186 teachers in the school district with a master's degree or a doctorate. Some of my friends in education have got master's degrees in literacy, English, biology education, natural science, school counseling, child and family services, the list goes on. You got to listen to them. The bus drivers, cafeteria workers, early childhood development staff, district IT department, the facilities crew, the finance guy, the woman over human resources, all the support staff that keep us running. You've got to listen to them. What about community groups and agencies? Law enforcement, the health department, the city of Pocatello. On occasions when those groups come to you with guidance, it's usually in a crisis or to prevent a crisis. And you've really got to be listening to them. And thankfully, you have been. Pockets of public opinion may conflict with the findings of scientific research. Public opinions may conflict with the needs of teachers, and public opinions may conflict with agency and expert recommendations. But as the bedrock of education in this country, we need our school boards to value education and the growth mindset that goes along with continuous learning and improvement. And you all have been doing exactly that, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. Next, Jeff Edwards. Yeah, not
Do we
having.
need to wipe?
Yeah. What's that?
Who's on deck? The next one.
The next one is Mary Ann.
All right. So we'll,
Mary Ann, then Doug Coffin.
okay.
And then the last is Nanette Smith.
And do we need to wipe that down?
Jeff Edwards. Sounds like it. I heard his voice. Sit and stand.
And I've got cards, so I'll be giving you time.
Hi,
Hi.
Jeff Edwards. I don't have all those credentials, but she said, masters or whatever. I'm here as a student body president of 1975. Lived here my whole life. And so, my sisters, my grandkids, and my kids are going to school there. I'm here to tell you guys that changing the name is going to be the worst thing for this city. And if you don't feel that way, wait till you do change it and then try to live in this city, every one of you. And so that's something that you really got to think about. And the Indians in 1973, a bunch of them came here and tried to change it, and we did what they wanted. And that's 40 years ago. And now you're trying to do something again. It's 135 years that school's been there. I mean, you're changing some of history, and it's wrong. And there's not, my idea, I mean, we could talk all we want and say how it is. My idea is, it's like a levy. Put it out next November, have Banning County vote. If you want to pour it all in, I'm fine. Have the people. We had a presidential election this year, and the people voted, and they won. The people won. So let the people vote on this. You six, well, we got voted in. Well, you really didn't get voted in because you put your name on a ballot, and so many people did it. We didn't know. I don't know any of you guys. Now I've lived here my whole life. Now, I don't think any of you could say that you've lived here your whole life.
I can.
Well, one, thank you, ma'am, then I apologize. Two, your whole life. Then you two people, I can't imagine even thinking anything like this. So, I'm here to have you, because you can change things, and it's up to you to change it. And you don't have to. And so, decisions of this town, it'll reflect on you 5 people for the rest of your lives in this town.
Jeff, wrap it up.
Pardon me,
Wrap
sir?
it up. You had your 3 minutes.
Oh, I could, that'd be fine. I'm just saying, it's up to you.
Yes,
Yeah. Is that it?
that's it. Thank you.
Well, then,
Mary Ann McGrory.
Good evening, Board of Trustee members and school district administrators and personnel. This will probably be the shortest I ever talk up here. I come tonight as the PEA president, a teacher of 30 years, a school district employee of 22 years, and the proud parent of 3 graduates of SD25, particularly Pocatello High School. My message tonight is simply thank you. Thank you for your leadership during these most trying of times. Thank you for allowing us to have a seat at the table and to have our input taken into consideration. We know that the decisions are not always easily reached or received, but we thank you for stepping up to be the ones to make those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Doug Coughlin. Either one.
Do I just start?
Yeah, you got 3 minutes.
My name's Coffin, Coffin. My great-great-great-grandmother came across the plains in 1850, and there was nobody else around here till 1852. My family's been here, probably the first family outside of the Indians. All of my family were Pocatello High School Indians. Not wolves, not bisons, not rams. Pocatello High School Indians. I've been here all my life. I've talked to a lot of people that thinks changing the name from the Indians is just plain stupid. We're Pocatello High School Indians. I always will be. I'll always go to the games. I'll always be waving an Indian's flag. Somebody suggested, well, maybe the pioneers. And I goes, oh, that sounds cute, but we're not the pioneers. We're Indians. I know a lot of people out in Fort Hall. I've nonchalantly talked to them about this. They think it's stupid. They are proud that we're proud of them. They are proud that we want these proud people to be our mascot. I don't want to be something else. I want to be a Pocatello High School Indian. My grandparents, my dad, my aunt, all my family went to Pocatello High School. This shirt has a lot of wear on it, you can see, but it's an Indian. I'm not throwing this hat away, it says Indians. I'm not throwing away anything that says Indians. I'm going to go through life. I'm probably almost dead, I don't know, but I'm going to die a Pocatello High School Indian. And I'm going to shout it at the ranks. I'm a proud Pocatello High School Indian. And it's just like I said, my family's been here since my great-great-great-grandmother was here in 1850. Came up through Franklin. It was Idaho Territory. Came up through where Franklin County is into Downey, settled in Cambridge, which is gone. Now the big city is Downey. We got a history. And if somebody comes into my house and tells me I have to change my daughter's names, I'm going to be terribly upset about it. I hope that my anger didn't upset you guys. But I really doubt if you're Pocatello High School Indians or you wouldn't be doing this. Thank you for the
Yeah.
time.
Thanks, Doug.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Nanette Toon Smith. It's our last.
Good evening, members. I'm Nanette Toon Smith. I, like many of the others, am a graduate of Pocatello High School and a proud one. My dad was a coach and a teacher and athletic director here, and that is the reason we moved here when I was little. I would just like to ask you to please postpone and go and get some public input. Have the school do a survey or something. Survey the people who have been there, who have the loyalty, and who really, really would like to see the change, not this changed. We are adamant, we are diehard Indians. We understand, and I have many Native American friends, and they are at a loss as to why this is happening. They cannot see us being the buffaloes, the bison, wolves, or whatever. So I would just ask you to please go back, go through your emails, look at the petitions that have been signed. Think of the graduates that have graduated from Pokey. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nanette. Okay, that's the end of the written comment, or public comment. Next on the agenda is reports. Our student representative reports will be rolled into the December board meeting. But we will begin with a media report and community relations update provided by Courtney Fisher.
Thank you. Over the past month, popular social media posts and other educational news of public interest in the public purview include the pandemic continues to dominate local, regional, state, and national news. And as you know, on Friday, November 13th, Governor Brad Little issued an order to return to stage 2 with modifications. In his address, the governor reiterated the critical importance of schools remaining open to the greatest extent possible, underscoring the additional funding that has been distributed to enhance safety measures in the controlled environment of a school. Our weekly case status report, updated every Friday and on our website at sd25.us, supports the governor's assertions that schools continue to be safe places to work and learn. This is due in large part to the mitigation strategies and preventative measures we have in place, including our district-wide mask mandate for all learners, staff, and visitors. At this time, no additional modifications will be made to our second trimester schedule or instructional models as our current environment continues to be aligned with our district roadmap. However, under this modified order, gatherings of more than 10 people, both public and private, are prohibited, including attendance at extracurricular activities such as sporting events. In order for us to continue the positive impact that activities and athletics have on our youth, no spectators will be allowed at any events until further notice. Also, that means no open gyms, and anything that is not essential to that activity will be discontinued at this time. And we will continue to monitor that situation and bring that back online as the conditions allow for it. Also in the news, the Idaho State Board of Education announced a Strong Families, Strong Students program, and that program will provide resources to Idaho families to help with their child's learning. In the first 24 hours of the announcement of that program going live, they received 14,000 applications. So they were overrun with applications. There are a lot of resources needed for families at this time. We had several of our own families reaching out to us to gather the specific verification that they needed to apply. So I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. Any inquiries were directed directly to the Idaho State Board of Education beyond that verification process because that program is run through them. Replacing the Pocatello High School mascot also continues to be a topic of interest. And regarding that topic, there are a few facts that I clarified earlier today with the Idaho State Journal that I wanted to share with you this evening and to share on the record that will be corrected in the journal. The Indian headdress was not retired in the late 1970s. 1999 and 2000, that class was the last Oski head cheerleader. This is the last year cheerleaders wore their headdresses. The class of 2004-2005 was the last year that the Indianette dance team wore their headdress, and it was subsequently retired at the end of 2005. There was also a statement in the story about the board's longevity, and you may all know this, but I wanted to share a few tidbits with you tonight on the record about the longevity that our board has and really amazing ties to our local community. Jackie Craner, Mrs. Craner, is a native to Pocatello and has lived here the majority of her life. She is a Pocatello High School graduate, the class of 1968. She taught or volunteered in our school district for more than 20 years. Her 5 children and 9 out of the 13 grandchildren attended District 25 schools. Mr. Jim Facer is also a native to Pocatello. He attended Lewis and Clark, Alameda, and Pocatello High School, graduating in 1965. He had 4 children attending the same schools that he did, and he shared with me this evening that his father also graduated from Pocatello High School. He has a grandchild at Pocatello High School, which makes that child a 4th generation Pocatello High School learner. His daughter, he has 3 other grandchildren attending schools currently, and his daughter teaches elementary school in our district. Mrs. Janie Gephardt moved to Pocatello in 2000. She has been a resident in our community for 2 decades. She has a 14-year tenure on the school board. She has served on the Idaho School Boards Association for 6 years and in various capacities on the Interfaith Council for 16 years. She is currently the chair of Too Great for Hate and has been a member of Zonta for 20 years. Mr. Dave Mattson moved to Pocatello from San Diego, California, when he was 18 years old in 1968 after he was recruited to play football for the Idaho State Bengals. He played for them from 1968 to 1971. He has since lived, worked, and raised children in our community for nearly 50 years. His son attended our school district. 2 grandchildren currently attend School District 25 schools, and his son-in-law is a long-term teacher and coach. He has 36 years in business to offer a different perspective to the school board, and he is a member of the Pocatello Chamber of Commerce Chiefs, Bannock Civitan, and is a CASA volunteer. Mr. Paul Vitale moved to Pocatello in 1968 and has then lived here consecutively for more than 40 years. He was employed by School District 25 as a social worker and counselor for 12 years. He has served on the school board for 8 years. His children and grandchildren also graduated from Pocatello High School. I would say that is a long-standing relationship between all of you and our community. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
There are also 2 separate petitions advocating for the mascot change. 3. There are 3 total mascot. One of them the one against has 3,900 signatures. There are also 2 separate petitions that collectively have 4,300 signatures. This is not a cut and dry issue one way or the other. It is really fairly split between those petitions right down the middle. Also think it's very important to note that there is no way to vet those signatures, whether they come from our community, whether they have connections or affiliations to our school, whether there are duplicates in nature. So we have to take that information with a grain of salt. I emailed the links to all the other articles of interest to you earlier today so that you can peruse them at your leisure. Now on to some more media. Our live stream of the board meetings. Our October 20th regular board meeting had 602 views. Our November 2nd special board meeting had nearly 2,000 views. And our November work session had 214 views. So you can see where the interest lies in these special meetings have had significant viewership. On social media over the past 28 days, our social media is connecting us to our community better than ever. And so I wanted to share some of those statistics with you. We have more than 10,000 followers on Facebook. Our Facebook was viewed 6,701 times in the past 28 days, which is up by 148%. Our total post engagement, which includes comments, likes, and shares, was 25,000, in excess of 25,000, which is an increase of 92%. And our total reach was 45,630, an increase of more than 150%. And our video views totaled 23,207, which was an increase of 4,000%. We are finding ways to connect with our community. This increase in the videos specifically I attribute that to the new addition of live streaming middle school events. We've been live streaming wrestling and girls basketball, and that has been really well received. If we're not having spectators, we wanted to find an opportunity for parents to continue supporting their athletes and watch those games when they can't be there in person. So I want to recognize our middle school athletic directors and Ms. Wilkes for going above and beyond to make this happen in these challenging times. As far as our website, we have had 25,000 users on our website in 52,000 sessions, and roughly 50% are still continuing to access our site using their mobile devices. Homepage continues to be number one with 38,000 hits. Our weekly case status report had approximately 4,500 hits. Pocatello PHS Home had 3,000 hits, and I believe that was because of the survey from last month would attribute to that large number of hits for the new mascot selection. The Strong Families, Strong Students program, which I mentioned earlier, had nearly 3,000 hits, so that tells you how many of our families were interested in applying for that program. And our coronavirus updates had nearly 2,300 hits. The top three were elementary school food services, our online learning program, which we had open enrollment, so that made sense. It got about 2,000 hits. And then our second trimester schedule update. So that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I would be happy to address them.
Anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to curriculum, instruction, and school safety. Chuck, bring us back to reality, would you?
I will. And I'll be brief tonight, too.
Bunch of policies.
Good evening. You have included in your packet policy 6302, advanced opportunities under item A, and 8203, graduation requirements under item B. Both are for second reading and adoption this evening. Both policies were posted for public comment. None was received, and no further changes were made. So you'll be asked to hear these policies on second reading for adoption under action items a little bit later this evening. Moving to item C as part of your packet, you also have policy 8107, admission and attendance aids infected students, and policy 8602, supplementary curriculum, to be considered for deletion this evening. Both policies were posted for public comment and none was received. So you'll be asked to hear these policies on second reading for deletion under action items this evening as well. Finally, item D, you have included in your packet a communication from the State Board of Education. The State Board voted to extend a partial waiver of the board rule requiring high school seniors to complete a senior project to the class of 2021. What that means is each district may determine if the senior project will be required in their schools. And given our current circumstances, the administration is recommending that you waive the senior project requirement for learners in the class of 2021. And you'll be asked to consider that request a little bit later under action items as well. Do you have any questions?
Can you explain the senior project? You know, I've heard of it, but what is
So
a
it's
typical situation?
It's part of our English 12B course, and students write a pretty extensive research paper. It's an argumentative paper, and then part of the requirement is that they give an oral presentation on their research project as well. So, you know, given that we're in the hybrid schedule right now and just the logistics of bringing all of that together and to fruition is a little bit difficult this year. So that's why we're coming before you requesting that that requirement be waived.
Does it make a difference to students going on if they have done a thing like that?
No, it's a state board requirement typically that they have to complete a senior project.
I know that, but I just didn't know whether there was an advantage to students who might still want to do it even if it's waived.
You know, I suspect most of our teachers will probably do a scaled-down version of it. It won't have any impact on, you know, their future educational opportunities or anything like that. So, all
Thank you.
Thanks.
right, thank you.
Lori Craney. Oh, okay. Are you coming up too, or no? We're gonna do it one at a time. Head Start.
Head Start, good evening. So your Head Start report for October, we have 128 children enrolled. Full day is full at 40. Part day has 88. 5 children withdrew, 2 families moved out of the service area, and 3 families opted not to continue. Overall attendance for the month was 88.28%. We still have 3 openings, 2 family advocate and 1 classroom aide position, interviewing for the classroom aide this week. No updates this month for Policy Council or Head Start policies. Finally, facilities. The facility application was finally submitted November 3rd. Yay. The last part of the process, however, is the budget carryover request from federal year 19 to federal year 20, and the non-federal share waiver request on those carryover funds. So information was included in your packets. Basically, the request is to carry over $953,422 into this year's budget, with $943,800 for the construction or installing the new facility, and $9,622 for indirect cost. The waiver request is for 100% of the required share of $238,356. It's in aligned with our continuation grant. We had written a 100% waiver request, which was recommended from the regional office. The board will be asked to consider for approval the budget carryover and the non-federal share waiver request under action items. Does anyone have any questions?
You need that building built though, right?
We need to get the building.
Okay, let's move.
So it's, after tonight, we'll be done with our part for a while. We'll wait for the feds, and then hopefully we can get moving on getting those bid specs out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Lori.
Hi, for the 21st Century After School Program update, we have 131 students who are registered participants for a max. We have enrollment this year is 150, so we have decreased that, as I've reported before, at each of our sites so that we can maintain social distancing and some of our safety measures. The preschool is still full at 10 students, and we could probably fill it with more, but we feel like we need to cap it at that. And wonderful things are happening in that classroom, so lots of hands-on, lots of learning going on, and it's really fun to see how our these preschool learners are just picking up school. So we're excited about that and feel so pleased that we were able to offer that. In the Idaho Food Bank, you'll see that in your packet. We had 575 backpacks were distributed. You'll note that some of them had 0, and that's only because their allotments came in later in the month of October. So we'll be catching up and making sure that we get those backpacks distributed. Okay?
Okay. Thank you. Next is Sue Pettit. A few items.
Evening. So we're going to pull this stuff up. How are you guys tonight?
Well, thank you.
It's not snowing, it's all good. Okay, so what we're bringing you tonight is a survey. You had asked last time that we solicit some public input on, thank you, on the selections for the finalists for Pocatello, sorry. Go back up there. For Pocatello High School's mascots. And so I'm going to show you what we're proposing and then ask you guys if you have any input you'd like to put in that survey also. So this would be the beginning of it. It says, thank you for helping School District 25 select a new mascot for Pocatello High School. Survey is designed to allow participants to evaluate each of the 4 finalists. Below is the criteria for evaluating. Select one for each, so strongly meets the criteria, or doesn't meet the criteria, and then limit 1 per person. And we put sorry, this mic is really hot. The images for the presentation may not be the original artwork that's going to come out, but these just considered some samples. So this would be the bison imagery. This was one of the finalists. And then characteristics that students came up with. What kind of things could, what are the characteristics? How do you tie it to the heritage? Actions that could be used, sounds that could be made, gear that could be worn, ideas for the dance team, what they could be called, other Idaho schools with that mascot, and then some possible mascot costumes. And this we did this for the top 4 finalists. So they had the same thing for phantoms, phantom imagery, things that could be used. Again, characteristics, whether it ties to the heritage, examples. Same thing for thunder, some of the imagery that the kids had come up with, characteristics of it. And again, this is part of that survey, so this will all be part of that survey. The 4th was wolves, and the committee is recommending that this option be pulled from consideration right now because it is actually New Horizons Center's mascot and has been. They don't have a sports team, so the committee did not realize that that was their mascot. So they're suggesting that we pull that, and that's a discussion for you guys tonight if you would like us to do that. They also have the next the next one in the line, and that happened to be the mountain lions. And if you would like us to replace wolves with that 4th option, that's absolutely possible, but that's a decision that we're asking you to discuss and let us know what you'd like to do. And then, again, characteristics and all of that for the mountain lions. And then these were the criteria questions we're asking. So they'll see the imagery, the characteristic summary page, and then this set of questions for that choice. So does it promote school spirit and pride, being uplifting and promoting positivity? And they rate strongly meets, or doesn't meet for all 5 of those. And that's what the committee went through when they were selecting these. And that's each one. And then that's where the survey ends right now. We would collect that data and bring it back to you. Is there something else that you would like on that survey before it's sent out to the public?
Okay, I'm confused. I'm confused here about thunder.
Okay.
You know, and as I recall, when they presented that, the committee that came to our work session and presented that, they talked about calling themselves the Pocatello Thunder, and then using the mascot of a bison.
A bison, an imagery of a bison.
An imagery of a bison for their mascot, but they would be called Pocatello Thunder.
Yes, and that's that's the thunder.
So I guess when I see Pocatello Bison and Pocatello Thunder, I'm not seeing a lot of difference there. What your difference is, what's presented here.
Okay, so
I think somewhere you need to state that they would be called
Pocatello Thunder.
Pocatello Thunder
'Kay.
with the imagery of a bison.
'Kay.
Because I don't get that from this presentation.
Okay.
Why don't you make that the 4th? Get rid of the wolves and make that the 4th.
What part of the 4th? Make it thundering bison or make it,
Well, they've
Thundering
got it
bison.
as third.
we can, so
No,
it's thunder is all by itself. So it'd be Pocatello High School Thunder. And their a possible mascot costume could be a bison. It could be represented by a bison.
Make-
But they could be thundering bison, Pocatello High School thundering bison, or it could be
Yeah.
just bison, just thunder, or
Make-
both.
Okay.
And like I said, we're,
Make that the 4th.
Well, if they pick one or the other, then they could, I mean, if they said they picked the bison, then they could call themselves the thundering bison.
absolutely.
I mean, it would be
It would be an easy transition to do, yep. Mm-hmm.
I guess my concern is, do we need both of them on the ballot?
They were on, when they evaluated them, when the committee evaluated, those were both, they were two different options, and both of those options rose to the top. So it's kind of up to you guys if that's, if it's close enough to being the same thing, if it's not.
Because to me,
That's-
it is close enough to be the same thing. I mean, you know, the pictures you're showing are the same, aren't they, pretty much?
Well, the one, like I said, they could use for the gear worn, they could use lightning bolts, they can use, instead of the bison, I mean, they can use other imagery. This was just one of them that they,
That they could use.
we could do thundering bison.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about combining it. And
Mhm.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Make it the
I
fourth.
know.
Make it the fourth pick.
Make it the fourth. If we're gonna do away with the wolves, I'd like to see it with
The mountain lions, okay?
that would be the wolf.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay,
So I don't know, I'd like to, I kind of like what Dave said, I like it combined,
okay,
the thunder and the bison, and then have one be the name and the other be the mascot.
okay,
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm,
And because they're so similar here.
And they got a lot of votes.
Mhm.
Both of them did.
And I think if not, you're going to split it. Do you see what I mean?
Mhm.
So I would like to see that combined with the name Thunder and then the mascot being
okay,
the bison, because I think otherwise, some might like aspects of both of them, so
Mhm.
you would split up
Mhm.
your vote.
okay. So what
I
I'm
think
what I'm hearing, because we're gonna work on designing, putting this is just the first draft, so, what I'm hearing you say is that you'd like it to be, one choice would be Thunder, that it's Pocatello Thunder, and the mascot could be a bison. Do you want a choice to be bison also, and the mascot is bison? Or do you want them put together and it's Pocatello Thundering Bison? And it's just one choice?
I like just Pocatello Thunder and the mascot a bison,
Okay?
but that's me.
That's
Is that
me.
what you would?
That's
And
me.
so do you even want the bison,
By itself.
so do you want that at all?
Well, I think you could incorporate the things in the bison with the
Mm-hmm,
thunder. I think you just incorporate them together.
okay? So that's what,
I mean, I think if you call them Pocatello Thunder, they would have a whole bunch of things at their disposal. They could
Mhm.
have, their mascot would be, say, bison,
mhm,
but they could still incorporate thunder and
lightning bolts and all kinds of stuff.
and all kinds
Weather.
of stuff.
Mm-hmm,
I think there's a big repertoire, is that like to say, repertoire of, there's a bigger repertoire of things they could use,
mm-hmm,
both for uniforms, I mean, I think it would be up to the school and the kids there.
Well, then if that's the case, y'all leave it like it is and have a bison and have a thunder. Because if people are thinking, well, I wanna be the thunder, but we've got the lightning bolt, you could be the lightning, we could be, I don't know, whatever. I don't know, that's just my thought.
that this is up to you guys, so.
I mean, if the thunder did come, was the one that was won, then you're right, they could pick a mascot after that,
Okay.
Of course, then go back after.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying basically give them a choice of just plain
Bison.
Give them a choice of just plain thunder where they could use lightning. Or then you would have to give them the choice of combining the two.
Well, if they
We can.
pick the thunder, they could still pick the bison.
They can put, I mean,
I mean, I think you would have to give a third choice of combining the two, if you're gonna leave them on there separate.
That's what I said, make it
Yeah.
fourth.
So as Mrs. Craner pointed out, I'm sorry, Mrs.
Go ahead.
Gifford,
No.
So, for example, on the thunder, it does say a powerful force of nature. So it could lead one to believe that that's the avenue that we're pursuing. The bison just happens to be attached in this example. So for clarification, it may be better to separate them
And then-
individually, but then put them together.
Okay.
Is that what you're thinking along those
Yeah.
lines?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that.
Okay.
And then I think,
But then that leaves you three options for, I mean, that puts you bison, thunder, and then the thunder and the bison.
so then just add the fifth option, but take out wolves, leave
And then-
phantom, and then add the,
So then there would be
Mountain
phantoms and then also mountain lions. So
It-
that would be essentially 5 choices if we pick up the alternate.
The thing I see about the mountain lions or cougars is that there are 3 schools nearby who have that same mascot.
Mhm. So that's, like I said, it's your choice if you want to bring that one up, or if we can just,
We had the same thing when we had the Indians, though.
yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
played
That's right.
Preston.
Preston, you got
So we could just add that fifth choice where
Mhm.
the one is just a combination of the two.
okay? So I'm hearing, we want bison, thunder, thundering bison, phantoms, mountain
I
lions.
don't want it to call it thundering bison, I just want it to call it thunder and then a mascot as the bison.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Or-
That provides us some great direction.
'Kay.
If you'll notice, so there were the other categories that they would rate them by agree or strongly meets, and then does not meet. We talked a little bit in your discussion tonight, giving us direction. This is, I've heard vote, I've heard poll. Thus far, we didn't have that incorporated into it, but we could fit it in as it meets these criteria. What would be your
Top choice.
top choice?
Is that what you want at the end of the survey? Once they've done this, do you want to give them an opportunity to say this, based on these criteria, this is my top choice? Or do you want them just to rate?
Yes,
Did they meet the,
Yeah.
okay,
yes.
okay.
You know, another can of worms.
Mhm.
Okay, you know, okay, we did Pocatello Indians for 120 years, right? And I don't know, I have a concern that if we pick something that's related to the Indians, and I don't know, I mean, like, you know, like the eagles and bison and whatever animals that they consider to be sacred to them, are we gonna have a problem 20 years down the road? I know that they took a survey and they asked the tribe, and the tribe said they're okay with these mascots. You know, 20 years from now, though, that whole much of a change, you know, we're gonna look at having a problem down the road with having to change it again.
I don't foresee that. There's animals throughout the country. So,
Well, and you know, I have to say, you know, that I know Jim and I both went to Pocatello High School. And I think we loved that mascot and everything about that high school as much as anybody who's spoken here tonight or anything else.
mhm.
You know, and so to say, I mean, all the comments we've heard and everything, and our goal has never been to take away the history of that high school.
Absolutely not.
That history will always remain there. Those people will still always be Indians.
Mhm.
They went to high school as Indians, and I think they will still always see themselves as Indians, and I think that's perfectly
And rightly
fine.
so, and should be proud of that history.
Yes, and I think, and it's not going to change my love of the high school or that I was a Pocatello Indian. And it's not going to change anything about that. But times have changed. Things are a little different now. You know, when, you know, and I love the way they said, we're retiring the name. When we get older, we have to retire certain things that don't work, don't fit for one reason or another, you know, and I think it's part of a process that happens through time. You know, it's just part of, and it's not to demean anything, it's not to hurt anything, it's not to take away any of that pride or that history, because that will always be there for me. You know, and changing this mascot was not to change the history or anything. It's to change it for certain reasons that do exist in this day and age. You know, and to respect other people, you know, and do I wish we didn't have to do it? I sure do. No, I sure do, or I wish it could have waited for a long time till maybe people's mindsets and everything changed, but it hasn't. This has gone on for a long time, I don't know how long. So I just, you know, when people say you can't hold your head high because you changed this name, I don't believe that. I still love this school. I still love being a Pocatello Indian. I will always be that. You know, I was in pep club. I danced the traditional dance in drill team and things like others did, and that will not change for me. That will still be part of my history and part of what's there. But times are different, and I have to recognize certain needs and things that maybe need to be changed. But I will always love that school, and I will always consider myself a Pocatello Indian. And do I expect people to get rid of their Indian
absolutely not.
paraphernalia or something? No. No, I don't. And I think that we need to respect the history and the heritage that come from there. And I think there's a strong feeling of that in the Indian tribes too. You know, but, so I just had to say that when I hear that all the time, you know, well, we didn't care, or this or that.
I would disagree. I would say that you care very deeply
You know,
about the history and about the kids that go there now and about the kids that go there in the future. I say that the board cares very deeply.
you know.
But we also care about the
Oh.
request that came to us.
Absolutely.
And we need to pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
And I can totally understand how these people feel.
Yeah, but you think about the changes that have happened in our world in the last 20 years, the last 30 years, the last 40 years, and things that we used to think were okay. And if it happened now, you would be appalled that it was happening now. Because people evolve and they grow and they learn, and that's what's happening.
And I don't
And some
believe-
people faster than others,
Yeah.
so.
And that was never the intent of the high school or the Indians or in that, but it still became hurtful to some people. And
Yep.
you know, and you can always say, oh, suck it up and just go on in that, but you wouldn't feel that way if it was your family or your, that was being hurt.
Okay. So
I'm just,
you're good. So what I'm hearing is, like I said, if we fix that, we add the fifth choice and then put on that question at the end based on the criteria that you've rated these, what would be your top choice? The plan is to send this out soon, as soon as we can get this finished, and then have it open and bring you back the results for the December board stuff. Okay. We can send it out through our Facebook page, we can send it out through Infinite Campus, we can tweet it out, I mean, we can get it out and put it, it'll be on our website so that they can get to it and vote on it if they'd like to do it that way. If the news is willing to put it in there, we'll be more than happy to. We're also going to have a computer set up in the foyer at Pocatello High School, so if somebody doesn't have access to a computer, they can go there. There will be a computer set up here, so they can come here and go through it also. So we will set it up the best we can so that people have access to
But
it.
what about the other side of that? I mean, I think that it's a good idea to have Pokie High students have access, but we don't need everybody in the world to weigh in on this.
And
You mean like from Philadelphia?
So they're just, so that
or-
they're here in Pocatello? I mean, it would be nice if they lived in the area or had a connection to the area. But-
Bring the point, is there some kind of criteria for a voter to be there? I mean, certainly kids in school right now, what about people that are, I mean, we're gonna just let anybody off the road come and vote, or?
That's up to you guys.
Well, I think it needs to be people in the community. That's my feeling.
Yeah,
People
leave
that
it
are
open.
here now,
Leave it open.
leave it open for everybody in the
Yeah.
country?
Well, I don't know how we're gonna stop everyone.
That's part of the problem with the survey that we're collecting. There's not a real easy way to say,
Yeah.
sorry, you don't live here, you don't get to vote.
Well,
I mean, we can ask a question, do you live in Pocatello or do you have a connection to Pocatello? And they can answer it yes or no, and we can say, thank you for, you're not qualified for this. But people can answer that either way they want to.
yeah,
I guess that, what that does is that takes people that went to school here, graduated from here, got a job somewhere else, they live
Mhm.
California, New York.
Mhm.
But they did graduate from Pocatello High School, did they get an opportunity for it?
If,
They look at.
if they've been made known, if somebody lets them know that it's around, yes. But so will somebody who graduated from Burley and never had any connection to Pocatello at all.
I don't know if that's, you want to do that.
We don't have a way not to.
That's the trouble with that, doing it on the internet,
Mhm.
like
now
this.
when the committee did this, they said they required email address,
Mhm.
and they could only use it once.
Yes, and we can still do that.
Yes, so nobody gets to vote more than one
Correct.
time. And at least, well, I don't know how you. I don't know. I would like to,
I mean, you can put on there a question on the survey, did you graduate from Pocatello High School? Did you live in Pocatello? And if they answer it one way, it says, thank you, you're not eligible for this. And if they answer it the other way, then they go through the survey. But again, it's on the honor system.
yeah. Oh, I don't know. Like, did you ever attend Pocatello High School? Or are you attending? Or
And that's where the last vote came from, that they did, that was presented last time. It was alumni, kids that were at Pocatello High School, kids that were at the feeder schools, if they had a connection to Pocatello High School somehow.
Well, let's
That's-
just leave it that way. I say we leave it the same way they left the last one then. That committee did it.
Then the question begs, why are we doing this over again? Because those already rose to the
We
top.
narrowed it down.
And you have the answers on how they,
Well, it's narrowed down.
Maybe more people will actually.
and could.
And then that's what I keep hearing, I keep hearing that we didn't listen to the public, and I know we listened to a lot of the public.
Mhm.
There was a lot of people felt like they were left out because they didn't hear.
Okay,
Well, my hope was that they could come in, see the presentations, vote then, and leave. But that's before we got into.
and we can set, like I said, we can set up spots, so if they can't do it on their own computer, they could come in and do that, one at a time in here, and we can sterilize and go on from there, but it's not a group thing.
Right. And because I was thinking of a lot of the older population who don't do that, but still need to have a voice.
Mhm. And like I said, they're more than welcome to come in and we can get it started for them. They can, it's something we can set up and do. It's just not something we can do in groups. So if we have people that are interested in coming in, like I said, we can have a setup at Pocatello High School. We can have a setup here.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable,
I think that sounds reasonable
Okay.
too.
So that would just be the only places you can vote is here, then?
Well,
Or online.
or online.
Okay.
So if you're watching it at your own house, then, but if you don't have access to it or, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would leave that criteria the same as the other.
And that's what this is.
But then give those people a chance
Mhm.
to come, like you said, here, there, or,
At home.
and we've narrowed it down. That's the difference, and they have this this chance, you know, to see.
Okay. We can do that. Okay, next, are we good? Are we good?
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is selling some of the nostalgia from Pocatello High School. And there's a list of, I believe, in their packet of things that they would like to do that. And then the money raised from that will be used to purchase the new items. They have, for an example, they have chairs for the basketball team that say Pocatello Indians on them. They would like to sell those and purchase some new chairs that say Pocatello, whatever the next one is. So there's a few items that they would like to do, and they'd like to see if they could get those up for sale for Christmas. So if people would like some nostalgia from Pocatello High School, instead of it just going in a cupboard and never being appreciated, they'd like the opportunity to offer that for people to be able to purchase some of that.
I think that's great. How are they going to do that? They're going to post it and then let.
I saw an ad on the Jeeves or
Mhm.
something. I
There's-
thought it was a little premature.
It
but
was a little premature.
That's what I thought.
Um,
And I was
yes.
thinking, hey, wait a minute.
I did see that on the giant, yeah. But they also have a bunch of T-shirts and stuff, so it was stuff that
Okay, all right.
wasn't, that you haven't gone, they have T-shirts and clothing and that kind of stuff.
One was a shop in the Pine Ridge Mall that was advertising some nostalgia too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw this on Yellowstone.
It was on the big
The big,
glow-in-the-dark
yeah,
Uh-huh.
big. sign.
billboard,
Yeah.
so,
I was- in
but,
fact,
yeah.
slowed down so I could see
Yeah.
it tonight, and I thought,
Yeah.
damn.
an awful lot of it, like I said, they have T-shirts and hats and that kind of
Okay.
stuff that they had talked about,
All right.
not the stuff that's on yours yet, so.
Now, the Indian sign above the sidewalk and across the street, is that the long one that goes over the sidewalk?
Is it
Yeah.
that one, or is it the one that's across the
Yeah,
street by the
it's the
parking lot?
banner-like one that goes over the sidewalk that, yeah,
Mhm.
As you enter,
the greeting.
it's on both sides.
And then there's one in the, just on the, near the sidewalk of the old JC parking lot there.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I know we talked a little bit about keeping some stuff,
Mhm.
so, I mean, these metal benches that you're talking about, those are the ones around the new area?
Yes.
'Cause I really thought those
And Mrs. Delanis looked at a way to,
Just replace the ends?
yeah, recycle those, if you will, or improve them. But the design has the arrows on the legs in addition to the Pocatello High School logo. So she would just be using, again, that money to replace and buy new ones with the new mascot. So they'll be identical. I believe she picked those up from Partner Steel. Yeah, so we would recover about 3/4 of the money that we would need from each bench to purchase a new one. And then they would just go in the new courtyard area.
I just thought we kinda need to keep some of the Indian stuff around.
And the artwork they're planning on keeping. I mean, there's art pieces that they are planning on keeping and incorporating as best they can, depending on which mascot's chosen, to be able to incorporate that in.
And I saw someplace that Randy El Teton wants to be involved in
Mhm.
some way to make sure some of that is,
That
some of
is
the
artwork
memorabilia.
and not, mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Let me see if I can.
Tanya,
Thank you.
well,
Mhm.
Thanks for your work on that.
I think the first item was the Title IX.
Yes.
Yes.
I know we went over that Title IX, new procedures and policy. Did you guys have any more questions about that? We have not been updated on where we are at with that, but I'll let you know as soon as we know any more with the new presidential-elect. Okay,
So tonight's for first reading. So last week was just last week.
Is
an
this a
introduction.
draft? Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then tonight, first reading for you.
okay. And the second one is our winter sports. You have our flexible wrestling and girls' basketball and boys' basketball schedule. Right now, you'll notice that Century High School has picked up a couple Utah schools that we will not be allowed to go
if we remain in stage 3. And they know that, but,
Stage 2.
sorry, my bad, stage 2. We went through 3 stages in the last couple weeks. Therefore, because we were in a different conference this year and a new athletic director, he was picking up some games quick in the game back in August and September. So at that time, he did not realize that we'd be in the situation we are. Because we are all in that same situation, it is going to be pretty easy to pick up other games in the surrounding area because we are all in similar situation. We're being very diligent on making sure that we're trying to hold to as many dual meets. The wrestling tournaments are reduced in sizes, and so these schedules will be flexible this year, and hopefully with your approval, keeping the best interests in mind and keeping everybody safe.
So I noticed in the paper today that I think it's Pokey High girls can't play basketball right now because of COVID. Do those games get made up, or does the schedule just?
Yeah,
kinda-
they've already been rescheduled, for the most part. Highland's been rescheduled. I'm not sure if they're gonna reschedule. I think the first one was Burley or somewhere, but I'm not, those non-conference, non-area ones, not a priority, but they are going to try to reschedule those.
Okay.
Yes. I know that Courtney went over the new guidelines and things like that, that flexibility that we are responding to the governor's orders. And technology and Courtney and putting those GoPros together within 2 days and being able to live broadcast those middle school sports has been a lifesaver. So thank you, technology, and thank you, Courtney, for all that expertise on helping getting that ready. And my ADs didn't know it, but they are now video photography. Yes, and they're enjoying that. They're enjoying being able to give that, and that's pretty cool that you can see all 4 games at one time. Any other questions with the new guidelines that Courtney had shared with you? They are posted on the website. It is hard, and we'll be responding to the governor. If that does change, then we'll definitely respond back.
I'm just grateful they still get to play.
Yeah,
Thank you. And that's exactly where we're at. I mean,
1 week at a
if
time.
you saw any of our stages, it was like, if anything, just keep them on the court as long as possible. Absolutely.
I mean, I just think that's a big part of their mental health and everything else.
And I'm so thankful the governor recognized that. Absolutely. So yes, we have, cut back on open gyms, that currently would be holding right now. Things like that are non-essential for now, just to keep everybody safe and adhering to the below 10 in the weight rooms and things like that, and making sure that there's extra precautions in those avenues as well. Any questions on sports? Okay. With the, when we talked about the outdoor facility, I mentioned, one of my other big tasks was to develop a policy on donations and gifts, and I'm almost done with that. It should be getting a draft reading possibly in December, no later than January. But in the process, Connections Community Bank has expressed their interest to help with that press box, concession stand, restrooms up at Highland High School. So we met with them, and it looks like we're going to move forward with the original agreement and so forth that they had started a few years ago, or a year ago. And then ICCU has approached Pocatello High School in the pit to put up some reader boards to help with their advertising so they don't have to sell banners. They actually reached out to 10 high schools, and Pocatello High School is one of them that they chose to ask if they would like to have these reader boards up in the pit. They tried to do one in the pit and one in the palace a little bit too farther apart. They have to have a connection to each other, so they're going to put them both in the pit. So I'd like, the board to consider to accept these donations and gifts, and we definitely will have an agreement with them so that we make sure that everything's official, but this is great opportunities for both schools.
Mhm.
Great. I thought that was super.
Any questions?
And there's a SIP meeting tomorrow, right?
Pardon?
Is there a SIP meeting tomorrow?
Yes, there is at 2:00, Dave.
That I got kicked off of? But go have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
And then we have,
If you guys are all gonna be there, maybe one of you could stay and then we'll have 4, or you can both come.
No, that's okay. That's fine.
then we have another meeting at 3, I think, so I'm gonna
Yes.
see you all day tomorrow. Any more questions for me?
No, thank you.
And again, thank you, you guys are amazing, appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, Carl Smart. Business operations, you're gonna wear a couple hats today.
I am. And Brenda told me I better push things through here in a hurry, because she'll be up here beating on me if I don't. Bart has 4 little short items on his section of the agenda tonight, and I'll just cover them briefly. And if you have questions, I'm in a position I can always say, "Oh, I don't know. Be better ask Bart tomorrow." So, but
Revenue's up.
yeah.
That's good.
But as Bart likes to do every month, he reports on the general fund status of the state of Idaho, the general fund. And as you look at this, you can see it's kind of surprising to everybody where we stand as a state in the general fund revenues. They're exceeding expectations. And I think the bottom line is in the first little blurb on this publication from the state, it talks about this unexpectedly strong economy, and this year's projections so far have exceeded their estimates by 10%, which is, in the situation we're in, I think that's
Amazing.
it's unbelievable. So anyway, then there's additional data on the back of that sheet if you really want to dig into the details. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when the legislature meets in January. Second item on his section of the agenda is the free and reduced lunch report. As you look at the trend, it hasn't changed over the last couple months very significantly, and still lower than last year when you compare year to year. And over the conversations with the food service folks, they're still going to try to reach out and contact parents to see if they can complete the appropriate paperwork to say that they are either a free or reduced lunch or breakfast even family. And so we know there are people who have not completed that paperwork, and we're still trying to reach out to them and make sure it gets completed.
Does it make a difference in getting the forms back, that the word is out that they're gonna get meals anyway, so
That's
why do that?
probably the reason why we did not get the information back. But it'll impact us in the future with several programs, like Title I
right?
in particular is one that depends on free and reduced lunch, and even our E-rate.
Mhm.
So a lot of our funding depends upon how we get accurate information for these programs. And so we're still trying to figure out how we're going to reach out to those parents and make sure that they complete the appropriate paperwork and return it to us. Item C, the capacity report. You have that in your packet. From my read of the data, there really are no areas of concern. And in reality, it's an indication of our low enrollment that we've had this year, especially in the elementary schools where we have plenty of capacity there that we have left unfilled, and so it continues to look good, at least for this current year. And the last section in last item in Bart's section of the agenda is a note from Chad Ranstrom from Morton and Company, and just outlining kind of the challenges that we may have as not only us as a district, but probably districts statewide that might come to us over the next year or so, or in the future. He talks about claims trends in the state. And overall, I believe that ICRIMP and Morton and Company and everybody on all the districts that are participants in that plan have done very well. I can tell you that we did have a significant enough increase from our liability insurance last year that our levy increase would not, the allowed levy increase allowed by the state of Idaho, which is 3%, didn't cover the entire increase of the levy or the premium for that liability insurance. So I think we're seeing the results of some of these things that are going on, that those rates are going to increase. And we can, of course, go to our tort levy through the taxpayers, but the rates of the insurance are increasing faster than we can increase to recover the cost of those premiums through the tort levy. Did that make sense? So this is the first year that's happened in a long, long time. There's one item in here that was very relevant as of today because it talks about cyber liability claims. We've had some nasty phishing scams going on throughout the area, and we got hit with a whole bunch today. So it's not really targeted at us, but getting employees' information from them is what it comes down to. So cybersecurity is paramount for us right now, and there's a lot of districts right now are fighting what they call ransomware, and so they're targeting hospitals and educational facilities right now with ransomware. So that's a concern that they have. So with that, I'll conclude Bart's section of the agenda unless you have other questions.
No, thank you.
Okay. So section 11, item 8, excuse me, just a little information on IC, or Infinite Campus and Technology. We're in the middle of our IC submission for the month of November. This submission happens to actually drive our salary apportionment, so we will see how that comes out when we get this all taken care of at the end of this week. It's due by Friday. And so for this, we have to clear up a lot of misassignments that might appear, and so we have to go through all that data and clear a lot of things up before they accept our data in December. As far as technology, we are in the middle of receiving several hundred TVs to replace the old Promethean projectors and boards in the schools. Those Prometheans have reached the end of their life, and probably reached the end of their life more than 2 or 3 years ago in some cases. So they are replacing those with, in elementary schools, interactive TVs, and they're going to replace them with basically big monitors in the secondary schools, with some exceptions for interactive TVs. So they are in the process of doing it now. I think they finished up Chubbuck Elementary this afternoon and working on the next school tonight.
So, Mr. Smart, if I may add, this was part of that CARES package
Yep.
that we brought to you a month or so ago.
Yeah.
So we are moving quickly to make those installations happen. We're very excited about getting that technology into the classrooms and being able to use it in the hybrid setting and potentially remote if that were to come to pass, but definitely instructionally in the classroom, it's going to be of great benefit to all of our teachers.
The turnaround on that was pretty impressive, getting all those ordered and in. Actually, we had no place to really store several hundred TVs. And so Tech Hut, who was the vendor we used to buy them, graciously allowed us to store it in their storage facility in Boise, and they'll ship them here as we need them. In fact, Kevin just returned here about 2 hours ago from his trip to Boise to receive them in. So they all are receipted in, and we're just waiting now to get them installed. And so they'll ship them here as we need them from Boise. And also in the meantime, I don't know if we discussed this last month, but we had several hundred Chromebooks that we ordered last spring in anticipation of working old ones out of the system during the summer. They finally come in this last couple of weeks. And so 6 months turnaround time on some of those products. So if you want to be kind of impressed, there's 2 rows of places back in the warehouse. It's just Chromebooks. And they will be working those over the next several weeks to try to get some of the old out and replace them with the new. There were actually some kindergarten classrooms throughout the district that didn't have Chromebooks, and so they were able to put those in already. And we learned within the last week or 10 days that the state of Idaho also went out and got Chromebooks for districts around the state. And we claimed, I think, was it 800 on that report? So we're going to get an additional 800 Chromebooks in to replace some of our aging ones. So things are moving on now. So we are going to take advantage of those Chromebooks and go to, as we utilize or start implementing one-to-one. And we're basically there, but we got some of these older ones we need to replace. In your packet also tonight is our student enrollment report. Well, I won't go into that in a lot of detail. It's very similar to what we've seen in the last couple of months. And we are anticipating, as we talk about the number of kids we dropped from a year ago, we had no idea when we got into this year where our student enrollment would be when we actually got kids into the seats into the classrooms. And so our staffing is based upon basically last year's student enrollment. So we're going to be down enough that we're going to probably be protected. And so it could drop another 300 or 400 kids, but we'd still be protected at the 3% drop, which is the good news. But we have to kind of adjust now, looking forward to next year, because our protection goes off of this year's level rather than last year's -3. So that's one thing we have to be concerned about as we look into next year. You look like you had a question, Mrs. Gabart.
Well, sort of. In looking at those numbers, though, and, the charter schools, et cetera, don't seem to have picked up the difference. And do we know what I didn't see, maybe I just missed it, but the, like IDLA or one of those, or are they just not registered anywhere?
That's good. That's the good question. It's $1 million question, and Doug might have more on this. But I know the elementary principals have been doing a good job trying to figure out where those kids went.
Yeah, so there are some pockets of, throughout the primary grades where the neighborhoods might be doing some sort of a homeschool model. And we do know that, as well as when Mrs. Crenny called and talked to all of her principals, there is a larger population within that, probably 500 to 600 students that are doing some sort of an online program outside of our district's online program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I do know, we are not the only one that has had a drop of enrollment over the last several months. Ironically, there's a district south of us here that increased about 4,500 students, which is Oneida School District in their online school. And so they might not be in our own local private schools. That's kind of an indication they've kind of gone to these online schools. And I know down here in Oneida County, that particular one has had a very significant impact on new enrollment down there. Your wellness dashboard is also included for the month of October. Overall, we're still looking fairly well. Our medical is 86.5 approximately. Overall for the year, we're about 82, so we're right in the ballpark of that 80. What I can tell you is that we might have a little bit of an uptick in utilization based upon things beyond our control, which is the COVID virus that has affected some of our employees. And so I think we will see more of that as we progress through the winter. So we had this discussion last spring as we talked about the renewal that come in about, what, 3%, if I remember right? And so take it and run based upon what we don't know about the COVID situation. So we are seeing some of that, just to let you know. And the last thing on my section of the agenda tonight is an action item. We had to close down Highland, I forget the date, October 26th, because of the power outage up there in the Highland area. And when it was decided to close down just Highland, didn't affect any of the elementary schools around that area. We do need to send to the state an emergency closure declaration, and that's in your packet tonight. And we'll just need to approve that declaration tonight, and so we can send it off to the state, and it will help us when we do our IC upload for the attendance for that particular week. They will exclude it. So that will, again, be in your action items tonight. So that concludes my report and Bart's report for the night, unless you have other questions.
Thank you, Carl. Human Resources, Brenda Miner. She's gonna stand up.
I'm going to stand for a minute.
Okay.
So mine is just really quick, but I just wanted to update you on the safe schools and how we've done on getting those policies completed and what that looks like this year. You know, I can't say enough about our staff and with all the changes that have happened and what they were still able to complete. This policy review went out on July 23rd this year, tried to get it out in a timely manner so that they would have quite a bit of time to get that completed by October 31st. It's interesting, you think that seems like a long time, and then all of a sudden it's October. And so that being said, it was super impressive to see that 1,590 employees were able to complete all of their policy reviews. That's less than 0.1% who didn't complete those. And in those cases, like I say, I think we were down to 13 people today, and of those 13, we have situations of new hires that need a little extra time, a couple coaches where their seasons haven't started, and so just a few kind of exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, again, it's just impressive to watch our staff know what matters and make sure that they are up in understanding of policies such as some of the ones that are in there to talk are things that dealt with Title IX issues, homeless issues, board policies, and very timely when Carl talked about, technology issues, and we have a component in there that also talks about technology safety and what they are, ideas for them to look for and watch for as far as things like he talked about this evening about the phishing and those types of things. So, like I say, it's been really a success that they have completed all of those policies. Question? Thank you.
We don't have to do that, do we?
When your name shows up, I think you know it pretty well. You know policy well.
Okay. Superintendent.
Okay.
You're up.
3 items for you tonight. First up is the board calendar, and as made mention earlier, SIP committee meeting tomorrow. And then right afterward, as Ms. Wilkes also mentioned, we have a student discipline hearing at 3 o'clock. If those overlap, I think Ms. Johnson said we'll just need to grab one of you to get started with the meeting, so we'll make that all work tomorrow. Yeah,
Just
we
one?
will. So on Friday, the 20th, it looks like we have district curriculum, Mr. Manson, Mr. Vitale, and then next Monday, we have calendar committee, Mr. Manson, Mrs. Creener, that will be the.
I won't be here.
At the calendar committee?
Okay.
For the calendar committee, I'm gone.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then we have a few days of Thanksgiving break, and then picking up in December on the 7th, we have the date set for our legislative meeting, and we'll be working with our legislators to determine whether they want to come in person or pick us up through a Google Meet or Zoom. So we'll just make that work, and I'll talk to you in my next item about some topics that we have already.
I thought that they already did that. They said they'd rather meet.
So they did, but that was before phase 2. I'm going to follow up and just
Oh.
find out if we're able to make that work.
Because of phase 2, that's
Or
right.
We can do some in person, some via Google Meets, but we'll just have
Okay.
to kind of play
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So, we did have their confirmation earlier. Hopefully they'll be able to make it one way or another,
Okay.
as we move forward. So next up is December 8th, work session and then executive session.
Can I add one thing there? I got a note this afternoon that Judge Murray's gonna try to do his meeting by Zoom
Oh.
on the 8th at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I did add that to the calendar, but not in time for the board.
Okay.
So it's on there.
Okay.
And I did see that you got the invite, so I didn't send it again.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then potentially another district curriculum committee meeting on the 10th if Mr. Orr has items for you. And then a follow-up SIP committee also that day at 2 o'clock. And then at 3, Ed Foundation for any of you that applies to. Local issues, not sure what they're doing there on the 11th, but we have it on your calendar potentially. Then regular board meeting on the 15th, and then that takes us through break. And unless we have some other reason to bring you in, depending on stages of COVID and instructional models and roadmaps and so forth, which we've taken action presently to get us through that first week of January, but we'll continue to watch, monitor. And if something were to change, we'll let you know. Okay, that is my first item. Second up for you, that draft outline for the meeting with the legislators. We'll just talk about our successes and then the needs and concerns. Some of these are just carried over from year to year because they continue to be needs, concerns, or successes. And so we've added on this list the K-12 funding formula. We've heard that that's still kind of out there, so we'll just let them know and see if they have any information to share with us. Next up, that bullet after is the state revenue discussion. And I forwarded the board, I believe, the note that mentioned the $55 million and whether or not, or what the legislature will have to do because that is Idaho code. And so the governor took the action with his committee or council, but that would have to be ratified or some discussion. So we'll just talk to them about that and see what their thoughts are. I think Senator Nye is probably still on JFAC. And so he may have some information for us to share. And then, again, a lot of that is just what we covered in the past. And then the resolutions will be on there from our meeting last week. And then any comments or takeaways. So if there's anything else that you can think of that we need to add to that agenda, please let Renee or me know, and we'll get it going. Okay, finally, 11 policies that I brought to you last time. These are not substantive. I love that word. And so they were just cleanup as we were moving from, as Ms. Johnson was moving these into our board docs. And so no public comment was received on those changes. And so we bring all those to you tonight for second reading for change. Yep. For adoption, essentially. Yep. And so those are my items to cover with you tonight.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, next is it time for public comment pertinent to agenda items, and I have not received anything, so we're going to move on. We'll now move to the action items. The first item of business to hear on second reading for adoption of the following policies. Do I have to read all these?
You can just say as written.
As written. Okay, you see a bunch of them. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board, hear on second reading for adoption the following
As written.
policies as listed.
I'll-
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. The next item is to hear on second reading the deletion of the following policies, 8107 and 8602.
Aye.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion is passed. The policy, and the next item is businesses to hear on first reading the following policy, 7405/8305, prohibition of sexual harassment. Is there a motion?
I move that we hear on first reading the policy 7405/8305.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing all in the positive, that motion is passed. The next item is to waive the senior project graduation requirement for the class of 2021.
I move we waive the senior project graduation requirement for the class of 2021.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, the motion is passed. The next item is to approve the Head Start FY19 budget carryover request. Is there a motion?
I hereby move the board approve the Head Start, fiscal year 19 budget carryover request as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing all in the positive, that motion is passed. The next item of business is to approve the Head Start non-federal share waiver for the carryover amount. Is there a motion?
I move we approve the Head Start non-federal share waiver for the carryover amount.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion is passed. Next item is to authorize the sale of Pocatello High School property. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve, authorize the sale of Pocatello High School property as presented.
Is there a second? No second?
It's one of those things you hate to do.
But what are you going to do with it?
I know. I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
We have discussion.
Oh, discussion, go ahead.
Well, first of all, are we moving to get rid of this stuff really fast? I mean, it seems to me like, we could hang on to this stuff a little bit longer. It's still gonna be the Indians until June to get rid of all of our stuff.
Is it about money?
No, it would not be about money. We have the money set aside for the project. It would just be moving forward.
I think what I heard was that these might be things that people would like and to give them as Christmas gifts. And so that was the timing.
Yeah, Mrs. Gephardt is correct. Mhm. I mean, we could essentially put the money forward to get the other items, but eventually that money would be put back in to pay for those items.
And it was just the items listed that we're talking about.
And T-shirts and caps and,
And
you know,
t-shirts.
that stuff that
Yeah.
I heard.
I still have a hard time losing those benches. I just think that they're such a part of the high school there. I'd like to see them stay even after Mascot's changed.
Could that be done?
Yeah, so we could, if the board would like, you could take action, hold on that item, you could have further discussion, you can hold on all those items. Part of rebranding is trying to keep or hold a legacy, but not hold it so tight that you can't move on, if that makes sense. So,
And we did talk about keeping the light up the night, the
Yes.
chief sign.
yes, in
Well,
fact,
that was-
the neon sign, I can tell you, there were some lights out on it, and so we will be working with a local sign company to make sure the neon is all functioning properly prior to the installation of
Okay.
that sign once
Yeah.
again.
That's the one that's on the pin.
Yeah, so it's been pulled down right now, and it is in storage, but,
On the
On
elevator.
the elevator.
yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be on the
It
elevator,
was in the rendition of the
right?
last week on the board docs of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the neon will be repaired prior to it being placed back up. And then that is part of the historical
Yeah.
lights night or,
Light the city or.
yeah, the
whatever.
preservation, yes, it is. It was part of that
Relight the
project.
night
Relight,
committee.
yeah. And the other thing I would say, I drove by Pokey today, look, I try to do that when I'm home, and they're making great progress, but I doubt that anybody's sitting in those benches right now.
Well, they're probably not using them now, but they will be in the spring and they will be, you know,
Well, do you want to authorize everything else but the benches?
that, I guess, you know, that'd be okay with me, I don't care, but I just keep thinking that, I don't know, there's something, and that's just a personal thing, I guess, I just really have an attachment to beaches, and they just have such a historical thought to them, and I know they haven't been there forever, but they're just,
No.
it's just-
Well, I don't see why we couldn't
I'd
authorize
say keep
everything
'em.
else and then do the benches later.
And maybe not keep all of them, maybe we could just designate a certain number of them, so that we could have something that, you know, I mean, maybe that's not, maybe I'm out in my field, but that's just.
I don't think so.
No, so maybe all but two? Or how many are there, do you remember? Do you know?
I want to say there are 5, but
Yeah, there are not a whole lot of them.
No, 5
No.
or 7. I can't tell you for sure. And, but yeah, there's not a bunch, no.
Well, I can understand your feeling, Jim, so I just think that's whatever
Yeah, if you
you
feel
think.
strong enough,
you
pull them
think-
out.
I think we could sell some and keep some and then decide later or whatever. What you think should be done with.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I just think we ought to keep, at least a couple of them, so that we could, I don't know, it's my feeling, I just like to see them be a part of the high school still.
In some aspect.
Yeah, I mean, we have the sign on the wall, and I don't know, maybe even be fit over there by that sign, or, you know, and when the project's all done, whatever, but I just, they're done so well, and they look so.
They do look good.
if you do make a motion with that change, that you could make a motion to approve the sale of the items with the exception of 2 benches.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it that way.
Okay, you word it.
Okay.
Did we already have a motion? on
I
this?
made the motion,
And it was seconded.
So we would just need it, but we would need to amend the motion.
Right.
and I would just make it a friendly amendment, that's fine.
So I can say, I'd like to amend the motion with sell of everything except for 2, then, which is here.
And I would say okay to that.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion is passed with changes. The next item is to approve the winter athletic schedule inclusive of travel. Is there a motion?
I move we approve the winter athletic schedules inclusive of travel.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Final item is to adopt the emergency school closure resolution. Is there a motion?
Go back up
Partner
one.
donation.
Oh, partner, going right through it. Second to last, business is to approve the community partner donation requests. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approves the community partner donation request from Connections Credit Union and Idaho Central Credit Union as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in, thank you, yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion is passed. The final item is to adopt the emergency school closure resolution. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board adopt the emergency school closure resolution as if read in the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. That concludes this meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
All in
Is there-
favor? Aye.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is passed and we are adjourned.
Okay.